For more than 5 years, Quando Rondo has carried a label most people in his world don't outlive, the man with $1 million bounty on his head. This was because King Von died in the gunfire of a Savannah man riding with Rondo, and the streets decided that Lil Durk and OTF answered with the price, that every bullet fired at Rondo since was an attempt to collect it. Before he was a marked man, Quando Rondo was a kid trying to get out of Savannah. He was born Tyken Terrell Bowman on the 23rd of March 1999 in a part of the city defined by poverty and violence. His childhood ran on the same loop a lot of young men there described: street life, sports, and survival. He has talked about sneaking into bathrooms as a 9-year-old to record verses on a cell phone, and about beating rhythms on a mattress while he was locked up in juvenile detention. When he came home in 2017, music became the way out. It worked faster than almost anyone expected, when in 2018 he started loading self-recorded songs onto YouTube, and the track I Remember with Lil Baby pulled in millions of views and brought him a deal with NBA YoungBoy's Never Broke Again label and Atlantic Records. The EP Life B4 fame and the mixtape that followed built him a real audience on melodic pain music and street storytelling. And it was in these years that he found friendship with the Louisiana rapper YoungBoy Never Broke Again. According to Rondo, the two had bonded over coming up poor and learning early to stand on their own. And now they are both so tight that he once claimed YoungBoy once handed him $1 million during a personal crisis and kept supporting him, and that alliance would later become one of the few things keeping him safe. However, it is the other half of his identity is the one that put a shadow over everything. Prosecutors and reporters have long tied Rondo to the Rawlin 60s neighborhood Crips, a Los Angeles gang with a set rooted in Savannah. He flew the colors in public and referenced them in his lyrics. In fact, some people claim that single fact was probably the reason why Von hated him, and also the fact that YoungBoy had an open beef with Von, which meant everyone on each side of the divide was a target. The hostility between YoungBoy's camp and Chicago's Only the Family had been building for the better part of a year. For example, Von had teased YoungBoy on Instagram Live in early 2020, but YoungBoy didn't let sleeping dogs lie, so he answered him in a song, and the two sides kept trading the kind of subliminal shots that live online and rarely touch the ground. They touched the ground in the early hours of the 6th of November 2020. After leaving the nightclub, Rondo and his entourage, including a close associate named Timothy Lul Tim Leaks, pulled up to the Monaco Hookah Lounge in downtown Atlanta. As Rondo's group was parking, King Von and a group of roughly 6 men approached, and witnesses say Von threw the first punch. A fistfight spread across the parking lot. Within seconds, it became a gunfight. Leaks pulled a weapon and opened fire, and off-duty officers working security, along with an on-duty Atlanta officer, fired back at the shooters. When it ended, 2 men were dead. King Von, whose real name was Davon Bennett, and a man named Mark Blakely were rushed to a hospital, and neither survived. Atlanta police were careful. On one point, the internet would spend years getting wrong. They confirmed Leaks fired the fatal shots and stressed that Von died in the crossfire between the two groups, not from police bullets. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation handled the officer-involved side of the scene, and Leaks fled before he was later arrested and charged with felony murder. The legal thread on Leaks is worth following to its end, because the myth remembers a man who walked away clean. He was charged with murder and released on bond. The murder case was eventually set aside after he pleaded guilty to aggravated assault in February 2024 and was given probation. For Rondo, though, the courtroom was never the real arena. The real arena opened the moment Von's death hit social media. Von was one of Chicago drill's most magnetic figures, and his camp treated the killing as the start of a war rather than the close of a fight. But Rondo did not lower his head. 2 weeks after the shooting, he was already commenting, "Free Lul Tim," in front of more than 1 million viewers during a televised rap battle, and the same day, he released a song called End of Story. The title flipped the name of Von's signature Crazy Story records and was built to land as a taunt. In it, he gave his account of the parking lot, defended leaks as a friend who did what a real friend should, and openly dared his new enemies to raise the supposed price on him to $8 million. The cover art for the song was a photo of Rondo and Leaks taken on the set of a music video shoot that had happened just hours before Von was killed, a detail that made the taunt feel deliberate rather than careless. Surveillance footage of Von's death leaked almost immediately, and amateur investigators on social media identified Leaks as the shooter by matching the gray hoodie he wore in the clip to footage of him at the video shoot earlier that day. Within hours, his Instagram comments filled with people calling him a dead man and tagging Lil Durk, while others urged followers to report the account circulating his face to police. Lil Pab and others in Rondo's circle answered by pointing fans toward Leaks' Savannah credentials and arguing he had every right to fire when his friend was being attacked. The line between a homicide investigation and a content cycle had already dissolved. The Chicago side answered fast with a snippet of a Lil Durk record that surfaced within weeks, with lyrics suggesting his crew was looking for Rondo and Leaks at their own shows, and the two camps settled into a rhythm of disses, threats, and armed lives that would define the next 2 years. When Rondo scheduled his first concert since the killing for the 27th of November 2020 in Macon, Georgia, the mayor and police shut it down over security concerns. He went live at a gas station with what he said was his whole crew, claiming his people were armed and ready, and the next day he posted a clip in a mask holding a rifle, saying he was in Chicago and inviting his enemies to pull up. 600 Breezy responded by posting an address and daring Rondo to come. A week later, alleged direct messages circulated that appeared to show Rondo asking Durk to end the beef and getting only a short reply telling him to stay safe. Rondo later said the messages were fake. Every rumor that could not be proven still traveled as if it had been, and that pattern, set in the first month, never broke. What followed the killing was a war of attrition fought across Instagram, Twitter, and the comment sections of every rap blog willing to host it. The mechanics stayed consistent. One side dropped a record or went live, the other answered with its own. Clips of armed men at gas stations circulated as proof of intent, and a thick layer of commentators turned each exchange into evidence of a contract that no one could actually produce. Rondo and his Savannah circle gave Von no peace in death. His close friend, Lil Pab, taunted Von's people online, telling anyone investigating Leaks to look up his Savannah set and judge for themselves how serious they were. A friend who went by Jump Out Gang Black released a Von diss called King Tim's Story, reworking Von's own catalog, burning a memorial shirt on camera, and openly referencing the $1 million bounty that had supposedly been placed on Rondo's head. Rondo kept escalating in music of his own, staging videos with thinly veiled stand-ins for his enemies and recycling the imagery of the night Von died. The Chicago side matched every move. Von's friends and OTF affiliates, among them 600 Breezy and a rapper named Memo 600, posted threats and tributes and promised to slide for Von. At least twice they claimed to travel to Savannah to find Rondo in person. Memo 600 went live at a Savannah gas station holding a gun, narrating his own presence in Rondo's city in a clip plainly built to mirror Rondo's earlier flexes, taunting Rondo by name and daring him to pull up. When a car rolled past playing Youngboy, Memo 600 froze for a beat, visibly braced for an ambush that never came. The performances on both sides blurred the line between genuine danger and content, and that blur is the engine of this entire story. The weapon both sides reached for most was music. Through late 2020 and into 2021, the records kept coming, each one engineered to provoke the next. Rondo released a video built around a kidnapping and shooting of a character made to resemble Lil Durk, with lyrics gesturing at the night Von died. He went live and sang the names of dead rivals over a piano, claiming to be smoking on each of them, a performance grim enough that even his own circle seemed unsure how to take it. The conflict eventually pooled in the broader rosters. Youngboy and Durk traded their own records, and a long roster of affiliates on both coasts kept the subliminal shots flowing. Local reporting started to note how completely the commentary economy had taken over, with drill channels and TikTok creators treating every bar as a battlefield update. The more music there was, the more proof people believed they had of a war that was, in its documented parts, still mostly words. The one figure who could not perform any of this was the man at the center of it. Leaks spent the months after the killing in jail, calling friends in what sounded like good spirits and asking to be sent money, while photos of him behind bars circulated online. In March 2021, his name trended as word spread that he had been released on bond, and Rondo marked the moment by posting clips of his crew throwing cash in the air and writing that he would rather say "Free Tim" than mourn him. Free again? Leaks eased back onto social media, at one point publicly shooting his shot at King Von's ex-girlfriend, a jab calibrated to wound. The man who had killed Chicago's most buzzing rapper was out, taunting and very much alive, which only sharpened the appetite of the people who wanted both him and Rondo dead. That tension is the backdrop for the first real-world gunfire, which arrived early. On the 2nd of May 2021, Rondo and his entourage were refueling at a convenience store in Blackshear, Georgia, when someone opened fire from across the street and an associate was hit in the hand. Rondo left before police arrived, and the shooter's motive was never publicly established. Online, the interpretation was instant and certain: the bounty in action. Offline, there was no arrest and no proven connection to the feud at all. That gap between what the internet declared and what could actually be proven became the defining feature of every incident that followed. The bounty itself hardened into accepted fact during this stretch without ever earning the title. The claim that Durk or OTF had offered $1 million for Rondo's death seems to have grown out of unverified social media posts and the lyric Rondo himself fed it. Podcasters and commentators, DJ academics among them, discussed the figure while admitting they had no proof. For years, there was no document, no affidavit, no court filing that named a bounty of any size. The number survived because it was useful. It handed fans a villain, it handed Rondo a mythology, and it handed a generation of drill commentary channels a story they could retell forever. The same dynamic warped the record of his shows. The make and cancellation became a Rorschach test. No official evidence ever supported the viral claims that 600 Breezy phoned the mayor or that Lil Durk bought every table in the venue, yet both stories spread as fact. Rondo's camp called the cancellations harassment. His enemies called them fear. The plainer explanation that authorities were nervous about a rapper at the center of a homicide drawing armed factions to a public venue was harder to package, which is exactly why the louder versions won. By the time Rondo addressed the threats directly, reporters were already noting that fan pages and YouTube channels were amplifying every lyric and inflating every threat, spinning ordinary street friction into the appearance of a coordinated manhunt. It is worth saying plainly that Chicago was never Rondo's only problem.
Long before the Von feud, his ties to Savannah's street world had made him local enemies,
and rivals in his own city kept their own grudges alive in songs that crossed out his sets by name. So the threat around him always had at least two sources, his hometown and the national feud, and the bounty narrative tended to flatten both into a single Chicago contract. None of it pushed him into hiding. In the spring of 2022, Rondo was still moving openly through Savannah, broadcasting his daily life on Instagram Live with large sums of cash on him and a crew at his back, smoking inside a convenience store, behaving like a man who ran the city rather than one being hunted in it. He kept feeding the machine in other ways too, posting about buying matching iced-out Cartier watches for himself and leaks, and tying his music to old promises that he would reward anyone who killed an enemy. When he finally sat down for a long interview to give a calmer account, he described the night Von died as an out-of-body experience, said he felt as though the devil had come for him, and insisted he did not even realize it was King Von he had been fighting until the next day. The measured tone arrived far too late to matter. By then, the war had its own momentum, and the next time it touched the ground, it would not leave everyone able to walk away. The day the story stopped being mostly noise was the 19th of August 2022. Rondo and Lil Pab had left a recording studio and pulled into a gas station near the Beverly Center in Los Angeles. A white sedan rolled up beside their black SUV. Three men got out in dark clothing, fired dozens of rounds, and fled. The SUV took off and made it a few blocks into West Hollywood before pulling over so its passengers could try to get help. Xavier Robinson, the friend and cousin Rondo knew as Lil Pab, had been struck multiple times. A deputy was flagged down, paramedics performed CPR in the street, and Robinson was pronounced dead at the hospital. Rondo was not hit. Bystander footage of him screaming over his cousin spread across every major outlet within hours. The investigation pointed to professionals. The Los Angeles Police Department said the suspects arrived with a mission in mind and that there had been no argument beforehand, and officers recovered more than 16 shell casings at a scene they described as a targeted hit on the vehicle. No one was arrested. Into that vacuum rushed every available theory. Some pointed to OTF, treating the ambush as the bounty finally cashed. Others noted that Rondo's own former allies in the Rolling 60s had an LA set tied to his enemies, and floated the possibility that he had been set up by the very people whose colors he flew. A few argued it was a robbery that took nothing, or a personal beef unrelated to either camp. Without arrests or public evidence, all of it stayed theory. The earliest narratives did not even agree on which coast was responsible. In the first hours, attention swung toward the Hoover Criminals, an LA gang with a long grudge against the Rollins 60s and a history with Rondo dating to a confrontational moment on an earlier visit, and posts went up insisting the shooting was not Durk's work at all. Within a day, the volume shifted east as friends and affiliates of King Von emerged as the loudest celebrants, which read to many observers as a tale. The contradiction was never resolved because nothing about the case was. Among the few measured voices was Youngboy himself, who called the situation sad and wicked and suggested that any reckoning would take time, a restraint that stood out against the open mockery filling everyone else's feeds. The aftermath online was its own kind of cruelty. Von's friends and OTF affiliates celebrated openly, posting that there was no time limit on getting back, telling fans to guess who they were smoking, and in one case, turning Rondo's anguished cry over his cousin's body into a mocking song and a viral challenge. The grief became content almost before the blood dried, which is the clearest possible illustration of what this feud had become. When the noise finally settled, the people involved had to face the ordinary aftermath of a death, and Leaks was seen weeks later helping to carry Lil Pab's casket. One name circulated harder than the rest: The LA Rollins 60s rapper Brick Baby had openly feuded with Rondo, had documented ties to Lil Durk, and put out music in the months after the shooting that flirted with claiming credit, including lyrics boasting of being paid to line men up. He gave interview after interview about the case, clowned Rondo's attempt to leave the set, and described how surprised he was that a supposed Rollins 60 had killed a Chicago black disciple given his own closeness to that world. In the weeks that followed, he released a track with an OTF artist, was dogged by rumors he had signed to Durk's label, and put out songs whose lyrics leaned into hit-for-hire imagery, even invoking an old, ugly saying that one does not become a true Rollins 60 until he has killed another. He also flatly and repeatedly denied any involvement, telling interviewers he was in Atlanta when it happened and warning people to stop attaching his name to a murder, and he dismissed the OTF signing talk as people seeing him with money and inventing a story. His public performance was provocative enough to keep suspicion alive, but suspicion is all it ever was. At the time the story was first told, the killing of Lil Pab remained unsolved, with no substantial evidence tying any single person to it. That is still the honest state of the case. For 2 years, the bounty had no paper trail. That changed in October 2024, when federal prosecutors in Illinois brought a sweeping RICO and murder-for-hire case against Lil Durk and other OTF members. According to the reporting on the filing, the government cast OTF as both a rap collective and a criminal enterprise, and names the August 2022 Los Angeles ambush as one of its overt acts, alleging that Durk offered a monetary bounty for Rondo's death and rewarded participants with cash, jewelry, or appearances in music videos. This is the closest the bounty has ever come to officialdom, and it demands precise language. It is an allegation in an indictment, not a conviction, and Durk's defense has called the claims unproven assertions built on witness testimony and intercepted calls. Just as important, the complaint never specifies an amount and does not confirm the $1 million figure the internet has repeated for years. The headline number that gives this entire saga its title has never been verified by anyone in a position to know it. There is a contradiction the bounty narrative tends to bury, which is that the danger around Rondo was never coming from Chicago alone. In June 2023, he was arrested in Savannah and charged with conspiracy to violate Georgia's Controlled Substance Act, illegal use of a communication facility, and participation in criminal street gang activity. Prosecutors alleged he ran a local faction of the Rollin 60s and used a phone to arrange marijuana sales, an indictment that swept up 18 other people alongside him. By December 2025, law enforcement was raiding multiple homes, seizing weapons and drugs, and publicly calling Rondo the leader of a violent gang. Court filings that same year referenced another episode in which he crashed a vehicle and had to be revived with Narcan after ingesting drugs. The man the internet pictured forever dodging assassins was, in the eyes of the state, also living the kind of life that manufactures its own enemies. That frame is what makes his survival legible. Strip away the unverified attempts and the screen-recorded lives, and the documented record is narrower than the legend. 2 confirmed shootings in Georgia in 2021 and Los Angeles in 2022. A 2025 incident in which prosecutors say gunmen fired roughly 30 rounds at a residence tied to him, and a steady accumulation of gang and drug charges. The things that actually kept him alive are unglamorous. He moved with armed security and reportedly traveled in armored vehicles, rarely performed in major cities, and announced shows late to deny anyone time to plan. He pulled his profile down for long stretches, staying in Savannah or on Youngboy's compound, a network with the money and the manpower to absorb heat. Luck did some of the work too. Surviving the Los Angeles ambush came down to inches, and a number of the attempts that supposedly tracked him for years turn out on inspection to be exaggerated or misread social media posts rather than organized plots. There are clearly people who want him dead, but there is no verified evidence that dozens of coordinated hits were ever launched. And in one of the story's harder ironies, his own legal troubles became a kind of accidental shield. The 2023 gang and drug indictment and the conditions that followed kept him pinned to Georgia and out of the hostile cities where an ambush was most likely. So the same charges that painted him as a gang leader also held him in the one place least convenient for anyone trying to collect on him. His attempt to step away closed the loop on everything that had made him a target. After Lil Pab was killed, Rondo posted that he was laying his flag down and leaving the Rolling 60s, a renunciation that drew an immediate rebuke from veteran members who told him a man does not simply quit a gang without being formally released. He later told Rolling Stone he made the post in part to see who would turn on him the moment he tried to walk away. It was an admission that the world he wanted out of was the same one that had given him his name, his protection, and his enemies all at once, and that he could not surrender one without surrendering the others. What is left is a story that resists the clean ending the internet built for it. Several of the most repeated beliefs about Rondo are simply false. He did not order King Von's death. The evidence shows Von started the fight. He is not under federal witness protection, and no agency assigned him bodyguards. The bounty was never confirmed at $1 million, and most of the assassination attempts that supposedly stalked him exist only in podcast monologues and grainy lives. Other claims sit in a murkier middle, repeated on channels but never substantiated, that this or that rapper personally paid to have him killed, that his own gang turned and ordered hits on him, that every car crash and street shooting in his orbit was a sanctioned strike. The deaths that did happen were real. King Von died in a parking lot, Mark Blakely died beside him, and Lil Pab died in a car in Los Angeles while the cameras of the feud kept rolling. The distance between those three killings and the mythology stacked on top of them is the actual subject here. Quando Rondo survived a bounty that may never have existed in the shape the world believes, fought a war that was half real and half performance, and walked away from a life that was killing the people closest to him faster than any contract could. The men who wanted him dead, whoever they truly were, never collected. Whether he ever fully escapes what he came from is a question no court filing can answer, and the silence where that answer belongs is the part of the story that still has no end.